Hello, Lar from Complete Test Success here, and today I have Abbos joining me to do a practice IELTS speaking test. So Abbos is from Uzbekistan and he's preparing to do a master's in the US. And what I want you to do is I want you to listen to the practice test and I want you to try and decide what score would you give him for fluency, for vocab, for grammar and for pronunciation. Then, after the practice test, you will see me giving feedback to Abbos, and you can see if the scores that you decided are the same as the scores that I gave to him. I'm going to ask you some questions about your hometown. Where is your hometown?
Actually, I am from Uzbekistan and I live in the Fergana Valley. This is located the north side of the Uzbekistan and it's lovely place with mountains, north side of Uzbekistan.
And do you like your hometown?
Actually, yes, because we have quite good, I think our hometown is quite a good place to live, especially safety and public transport is really good because our neighbors can reach a place they need very easily and very safe place to bring up children, and also education system is quite better. Therefore, it's good, I think.
Is it easy to travel around your hometown?
As I said before, I think it's really easy because of the well organized public transport system, and you can reach the place you need very easy, and also the roads and they can be found like quite amazing historic places and beaches and some beautiful natures to see and visit, and yeah, easy, I think.
And what is your hometown famous for?
I think our traditional dish, because we have a special meal called pillow. Our pillow, and this is one of the delicious food people love to eat. For example, whenever tourists visit our hometown, it's quite unlikely which they don't taste this food, and as whoever visits our hometown, they often our local recommend to test this food because it's really delicious and symbolize our hometowns.
Thank you. And now I'm going to ask you some questions about road trips. How often do you go on road trips?
Actually, every day, because if I go to the work, and therefore I use roads, and in the evening and in the morning and in the evening, but especially in the rush hours, it's quite difficult to reach the place which we need. Traffic jam.
And who do you usually go on road trips with?
With my friends and with my colleague, because we go to the same place, and it would be our job job place and our company, and going there with my friends is more likely than other, and also we can discuss something related to our job in the road.
And do your road trips ever take more than one day?
Actually, not, because till now I haven't visited the place which would be longer and which would take more than 1 day. And if I had a chance, or if I would travel the place which can take more than a day, because I'm a kind of person who loves traveling and seeing the nature.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say, and you can make notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes, of course.
I would like you to describe a place of interest in your country. Okay, while Abbas is making his notes, make sure that you sign up with the link below to join me for my free live feedback lessons every week, where I go through each part of the IELTS test and make sure that you can get the scores that you need. Okay, Abbas, you can start speaking now, please.
Well, now I would like to describe a place which is interesting and very famous in our country, which is Samarkand, and which is near to our capital, and it is very historic place. And whenever tourists visit our country, they often visit these places, and in this place we can find a lot of historic buildings, churches, mosque, and these kind of things. And this is interesting because these places are really interesting because, and these buildings have more than 1,000 years of history, and it was built I think as 10 centuries ago, but they are not losing their very good condition and very good looking, and therefore it's attracting more people. And also some, for example, someone who likes architecture or engineering, they love to learn these buildings, infrastructure, how it was built, how they were built, and therefore it attracts more people. And also, if you visit this place, also in this place they have traditional meals which you can test, and it's also historic, and also it symbolizes our culture and our tradition. And in this place also people are the local in Samarkand also really honest, and also you can see this kind of historical place. It's not, I wouldn't say these buildings are really tall, but the outlook of these buildings are really
Thank you.
Beautiful, and it's like.
Thank you. And is this a place which also interests you?
Actually, yes, because whenever we have time with our family or with our friends, we often decide to visit this place and to see and to test our traditional meals, traditional dishes.
Thank you.
And seeing they are
Thank you. Okay, we've been talking about a place of interest in your country, and now I'd like to ask you some more general questions related to this topic. First of all, let's talk about tourism. Why do some people prefer to travel with friends rather than with family?
Well, actually, I think because of their age, if you travel to somewhere with your family, they would be older than you, and they would be younger than you, and they would have a kind of really different opinion and when it comes to their age, but most of their friends would have similar or opinion, and they can discuss something and they can experience much more and do their best when they visit with their friends, and therefore I think they prefer to visit with their friends.
And in your country, do you think international tourism will become more or less popular in the future?
I think in the future our country will be much more popular place to visit, because nowadays our government is allocating a lot of money to improving tourism. For example, they are building skyscrapers and they are creating green lands, and green lands wouldn't attract tourists, but also some parks, cities which would be interesting to see, visit, and spend time in this place.
And is it common for people in your country to go on holiday alone?
It depends on, actually, it depends. For example, older people in our country like to visit somewhere in holidays, Halloweens, with their families and with their friends, but younger people would choose to visit parks or cities alone. For example, I have few friends. When I ask them what we're going to do in the, for example, our traditional Halloween holiday in 21st of March, and they would like to prefer visit alone rather than with someone.
Do you think that a country's cuisine can have a big effect on its tourism industry?
Can you explain cuisine? What does it mean?
Cuisine would be the traditional food from that country.
Well, actually, yes, cuisine would have big impact on improving tourism, because if some place have really delicious and really famous cuisine that most people like to test and like to visit this place. And for example, our country, especially it's also our tradition, which we love to test different kinds of foods. For example, if somewhere opens new restaurants, and for example it would be Chinese restaurant or European restaurant, they would like to visit this place and test some cuisines in this restaurant, or some sit down. It would be fast food restaurant or sit down restaurant, doesn't matter. They would like to test, drink, eat.
Thank you very much. That is the end of the IELTS speaking test. Remember at the start of the video, I said to decide what scores you would give Abbos for fluency, vocab, grammar, and pronunciation. So now I want you to go to the comments and write down what scores you decided on, then continue watching the video and let's see if you had the same scores as me. Okay, Abbos. So a lot of strengths. You did a lot of things well. So let me just explain a few things and then we'll go through each band. So in speaking part 1, you didn't understand what the term road trip means. So road trip would be like a small holiday, like a mini holiday, where you jump in a car or a motorbike, go for a trip somewhere and come home. So what you were talking about was commuting to work, and that wouldn't be the same thing. So what you really needed to do was ask me, what does road trip mean? So, even if you're not if you're 90% sure, just ask so that you're 100% sure. Later in part 3, you did ask me, you said, what does cuisine mean? Perfect. That's what you want to do. Just ask. It does not lose any marks. You won't lose any marks because of it. And then your answers are definitely relevant. So I think for you, asking more often would be a good idea, just to make sure. In part 3, there was also a question, will international tourism become more or less popular in the future? Oh, actually, you did answer the question. I was thinking about people from your country going abroad, but you were talking about people from abroad coming to your country. It's still international tourism, so that's no problem. Okay, so we'll go through each band. So for fluency, you get a band 6. Things you do well, you always develop your answers very well. You're always relevant. You never repeat information. You always give me new information. But things that are stopping you from getting a 7 is there are too many pauses, but more so it's that you speak quite slowly throughout. So the speed of your speech would be one thing that would need to improve. You'd need to be a little bit faster. Now, you don't need to speak very quickly to get a good score, but at the moment you are speaking just a little bit too slowly. And one mistake with fluency and coherence, so the discourse markers and the cohesive devices are also part of that score. And you made one mistake with the word actually. So the question was this, do you like your hometown? And you said, actually, yes. But when we use the word actually means that you're going to give me an answer that surprises me. So I would expect you to like your hometown. Most people do like their hometowns. So when you're saying actually, it would be more likely you're going to say no, because you think I'm not expecting that answer. So that's what the word actually represents. It's telling me you probably don't expect the answer I'm going to give you. So that was just one mistake with a discourse marker. But in relation to the answers, the quality of the content, the development, all very good. But the speed and the number of pauses means you get a band 6 for fluency. Vocabulary is also a band 6. And the reason for that is you have a lack of range. You make a small number of mistakes, but that rarely, actually never stops me from understanding. I can always understand what you're saying to me, and you can always communicate the information that you want me to know. So you do have a good enough vocabulary for clear communication, but what we're missing is topic-specific vocabulary, less common vocabulary, less common collocations, those types of things. So you will need to work on your vocab. One thing that you do very well is you think before you speak. So a lot of students, they don't have the confidence to think first. So they start to speak immediately and then they get choked up. So I guess this is more to do with fluency. But you do really well in that you always think first and then answer. And that's a very good strategy. So just one small mistake that I wrote down with vocab. Like I said, it's mainly a lack of range. You said they're very good looking, but you were talking about the buildings. So you say they look very nice. So when you say somebody is very good looking, you would talk about, someone being beautiful or handsome, but we wouldn't use the same language to describe a building. Grammar is a band 6, and it's because you're making too many mistakes. So let me just go through them. So more importantly, it's the type of mistake. So like we were saying earlier on, you want to find out what mistakes you're making so that you can focus on those mistakes and get your scores. So The types of mistakes are more important than the specific mistakes. But you said in north side of instead of in the north side of. So that's a mistake with articles. We have special meal called, should be we have a special meal. So another mistake with articles. If you have any questions about this, just stop me and ask me. One of the delicious food would be one delicious type of food. So that's more of a collocation. That would be more related to vocabulary, actually. Something you use a lot, you use the modal would. So you were talking about driving to work with your friends and your colleagues, and where you're going, you said it would be our workplace, but it is our workplace. And you do this a little bit where you use the word would instead of the verb be. You also did it in part 3. You were talking about if somebody goes on a holiday with their family, the family members would be older rather than the family members are older. So you have a tendency to use would be instead of just the verb be. Then pronouns. So you're saying this places instead of these places. So this for singular, these for plural. So these places. So you're using the incorrect pronoun. And a few mistakes with plurals. So you're saying it has a lot of historical buildings, church and mosque, but everything would need to be plural. A lot of historical buildings, which is what you said, but then churches, plural, mosques, plural. So everything that follows also needs to be plural. Okay. One mistake with prepositions, you said they love to learn this buildings instead of they love to learn about. So learn about is the preposition that goes with learn about. Again, another mistake with plurals. You were talking about going on holiday with people who are the same age. You will have similar opinions. So you needed that to be plural. Another preposition mistake, visit somewhere in, but it should be visit somewhere on holiday. And then another mistake with that would be, again, so the exact same mistake when you were talking about Chinese restaurants. So, you know, it is, or actually it might be a Chinese restaurant, or you had some other examples. So it's those little mistakes that are adding up and stopping you from getting a band 7. So what we're looking at there is mainly plurals, articles, modals, and prepositions. Plurals, articles, modals, and prepositions. And when I say modals, I'm specifically mean the way you use the word would. So that's the only mistake you're making with modals, but you are making it quite often. Pronunciation is also a band 6. So that means 6 in every band and an overall score of band 6. Pronunciation, so things that are good is that you're very clear, you're very easy to understand. There were no occasions where I couldn't understand you. Places that you have an issue is when we need to add an ed onto a verb. So like organized, sometimes you'll say organize id. So you put an extra I sound where it doesn't belong. So organized, not organized. Or sometimes when you make a noun plural, you do the same thing. So when you were saying tourists, you say touristes. So you're adding an extra sound. So sometimes that's a mistake you make. Adding the S or the ED, you don't need an extra vowel, but you are putting it in. On one occasion, when you said taste, you said test. Sometimes when you need to make a V sound, you make a W sound. For example, visit, but you say w instead of v. So visit. In government, you said government. Maybe you missed the V. You know what? I can't remember. I wrote it down, but what I wrote down doesn't make sense. But there was a problem. There was a problem with the pronunciation of that one. Restaurant. Sometimes you pronounce the T at the end of restaurant. Sometimes you do not. But these are small mistakes. These are not mistakes that stop you from getting a band 7, because in general, it's very clear. You're very clear and your pronunciation is very easy to understand. The issue is that you're speaking one word at a time. So when you're speaking in English, you need sentence stress and all the features of connected speech so that when you are speaking, you finish each word and then you say the next word. So that's what I mean by you're speaking one word at a time. Obviously, when you're speaking, it's not as exaggerated. I'm exaggerating it just to help you understand the issue. So you speak one word at a time, but when we're speaking in sentences, you need to have correct sentence stress and the way, like the linking, the elision, catenation, all the different features of connected speech. So those are the things that you would need to work on. So you're looking for a band 7, which means you need to improve each area by one band, but you can be very focused on those things. So you want to focus on vocab, study vocab every day. Fluency is just about practicing speaking more often. And I could even tell by the end of part 3, you were starting to get tired. I could tell that, you were running out of energy, in that to speak for that long is a challenge for you. And that just shows that you don't do that very often. So I can tell by the fact you're getting tired from the end of 15 minutes speaking, you probably don't speak English every day.
Yeah, last 3 months, I'm speaking English quite less than before.
Okay. So it's just a bit of practice. And the thing is, like, nobody needs to listen to you. That's where a lot of students go wrong, is they think if I'm practicing speaking, I need a speaking partner. That's not true. It's definitely more interesting, but it's not necessary. As long as you're practicing speaking, you will get that fluency level up, and you'll start to speak more quickly as a result. So we had the 4 areas of grammar to focus on, and then sentence stress after that. So that's me done. That's all my feedback given. But do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. What would you recommend to improve? And improving all of the weakness at a time would be quite stressful. But if I divide these areas into small steps, and improving this would be much more manageable and much more. And what would you recommend to start with? Which area?
I would recommend start with vocabulary, because vocabulary requires you to learn a lot of individual, phrases. That takes time. So by starting with vocabulary, you're starting with the one that will take you the most amount of time. With fluency, if you just practice a little bit every day, 15 minutes every day, it doesn't take a massive investment of time, but just making it consistent, and over time, you will get faster without a great amount of effort. It requires time, but it's not as much effort as vocabulary. Grammar, just take those one at a time. That's something that probably won't take as long as other areas. Definitely not vocab. And then with pronunciation, that would probably be second in line. So I would say start with vocab, make pronunciation the second one. Work on fluency just over time, a small bit over time. So, it's not a big rush at the end, just a little bit every day to help with fluency. And with grammar, I think once you get to a point with your vocab where you feel like you're getting places, then just start working on the grammar points one at a time. The grammar points don't take a very long time to improve. It's just about being very focused and giving it all of your attention so that you do master them one at a time.
If I improve, would I get the score I need?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you take care of those things, without a doubt, 100%. Yeah.
And thank you.
And thank you
for
too.
I appreciate this.
So I'm sure that you agree with me that Abbos did a great job. He really gave it his all. And what I would like to you is just to give a little bit of extra support to Abbos and write some comments below to tell him what things you appreciated and what things you think he did well. If you would like to have practice speaking tests with me or my one-on-one support, make sure to reach out and I will be happy to help you.